What are we doing here? What are we doing here? 21 picks last night. 21 superstars got chosen, and only 3 of them on that main roster are moving anywhere. Only 3 out of 21. Sheamus, Andrade, and Nia Jax. That's it. We didn't need to make a whole spectacle of a draft to have Nia Jax and Sheamus, who just got back, and Andrade, who's had a cup of coffee in WWE since his return. We didn't have to have a spectacle, a whole draft, to move those 3 minor components. You could have put that in a press release. Hey, everybody, we're moving Nia Jax, Sheamus, and Andrade. Nobody would have batted an eyelash. Nobody would have cared. Right back to your coffee. That's it. 3 superstars out of 21. 3 others were call-ups from NXT. Braun Breaker, I believe, going to Raw. Kiana James, plucked out of nowhere. They took a piece of bologna, threw it at a wall. It landed on the name of Kiana James. So Kiana James is going to Raw. And then Melo. Melo is going to... Where's Melo? Anybody know where Melo's going? Melo is going to SmackDown. I think he already was at SmackDown. So he pretty much stays on SmackDown. Maybe he wasn't drafted in. I don't even get it. Nobody cares. The NXT talents are going to go somewhere anyway. I don't even count them. That's great. Get called up. Hopefully you get great booking, or at least good booking. That's all we're asking for. Beggars can't be choosers. We'll ask for good booking. But you take the NXT kids out of this equation, and you have three main roster talents out of 21 draft picks last night. Only 3 actually moved anywhere. You have full groups staying. I don't even believe that was in the rules, was it? Tag team champions can stay firm. Champions all stay firm. Maybe they made up a rule, right? Tag teams will go together. Well, full groups? All of Alpha Academy is just plucked as one. Chad Gable, Maxine, Tozawa, Otis. You all go as one. How does that work? That's not even the Freebird rule, which you can interlock a third individual to be in a tag team. This is a whole faction. And then the Bloodline, who Paul Heyman says, I don't know, I can't negotiate anything because you keep adding members, he tells Solo. But Solo only has Tonga right now. So they all 3 get drafted or stay on SmackDown. Paul Heyman, Solo, and Tonga all together drafted and staying on SmackDown. How does that work? None of this makes sense, man. 2 hours. And the only thing to come out of this is Andrade, Sheamus, and Nia Jax are moving. Did that just move the WWE needle for you? Carmelo Hayes staying on SmackDown, where I believe he already was. Braun Breaker hasn't even had a cup of coffee on SmackDown, so him going to Raw means absolutely nothing. It's like he's debuting on Raw, basically. And Kiana James, nobody knows what a Kiana James is. Of course, if you know, you know. When you watch NXT, of course, we know Kiana James. A lot of people don't. Immediately after they announced her, they had to play a video package, which is the right thing to do. But I don't know how Kiana James is going to move the needle when that woman's roster already needs a lot more attention to it. Got people like The Undertaker, Mark Calloway, saying the women's division should have mid-card titles. Damn, that's a lot of titles, and you ain't got that much women. You already have 2 of them are going to have tag titles, 2 are going to have world titles, and then 2 more are going to have mid-card titles. You got about 25 to 30 females, and 6 of them are all going to be champions. I don't know how that's going to work. Right now, Paul Levesque McMahon doesn't give that division the time of day, the care, the attention, the resources that it needs. But if Kiana James moved the needle for you, congrats. 3 main roster talents moved last night, and none of them you can honestly say, whoa, that's the game changer, that's the needle mover. Andrade, Nia Jax. You have Sheamus. They're moving. Roman Reigns was hilarious. He's just like, I don't want to be a part of this. Nick Aldis, Adam Pearce, Nick Khan, Paul Levesque McMahon, nobody can do anything about that. Like, oh, all right, our contracted talent, Roman Reigns, said no, he's not going to be a part of this. Nobody bats an eyelash. Roman Reigns just says no. Okay. Roman's not a part of this. He's revoking his eligibility. Cody Rhodes is out there shaking hands like he's running for presidency, right? You got Biden over at the local Walmart shaking hands. You got Trump at the local Chick-fil-A shaking hands. And Cody Rhodes is shaking hands with all the heels. He's giving pep talks to Carmelo Hayes last night after Hayes is supposed to be a heel. He's shaking hands to end the show with Styles. Styles is supposed to be a heel. We're not supposed to talk about that. Mutual respect in Paul Levesque McMahon's era. Swig of coffee. We're going to talk SmackDown 4/26/24, the 2024 Draft Night 1. There's a lot to talk about. We're going to get amplified. We're going to do it now. Get ready and let's get amplified. BC is jazzed up today and ready to put some bitches through walls. We're going to start this show off with Paul Heyman backstage cutting an interview, and he is revoking Roman Reigns' eligibility for this year's WWE Draft. So he is revoking the eligibility, which means he is withdrawing his eligibility, which means Roman Reigns will not be a part of the draft. Just, he's going to be one of those individuals, you know, like 3 or 4 every year is in like a free agency category of WWE's roster page. Just free agency. You don't know why. Omos was sitting there all of last year. Brock Lesnar was sitting there. People like an Odyssey Jones or something like that. I don't know. One of those type of... Von Wagner was sitting in there for a while. And now I guess Roman Reigns, because they don't know where they're going creatively. They just told you last night they don't know what they're doing creatively. So they're going to stick the bloodline, stay them right there with SmackDown. It's more than likely that Roman will stay mostly on SmackDown, right? Keep it on the cable stations there. USA Network in October is going to take the reins of SmackDown. So they're just going to... Netflix doesn't need Roman, obviously. Netflix will have many resources to go with. They're not going to stuff Roman Reigns on Netflix because they want that mass appeal for Roman Reigns. They do want him to be the next Mr. Hollywood. They want him in more commercials. They want him where he's easily accessible. And he's way more easily accessible on USA Network, on cable, than he is on Netflix. So he's most likely going to flounder mostly on SmackDown, but you could see him pop in and out of Raw for sure, especially if he's going to be conducted as a free agent going forward. But it's just hilarious, right? This is huge news because it's Roman Reigns. You would think he's obviously going to be the first pick, and this was their way to instantly weasel out of it. Well, and they couldn't even get creative. They're just like, Roman has revoked his eligibility. Didn't know you could do that. If you're a Starbucks employee or you work at the Dunkin' Donuts and you got to go in for your shift, just tell your boss you're revoking your shift for the day, right? You're revoking your obligations for the day. You'll be in a few days when you're ready. Just tell your boss. I mean, you could do that, right? Adam Pearce, Triple H, Nick Khan, nobody batted an eyelash. Why have your pro wrestlers show up to have pro wrestling matches? Why know where your pro wrestler is going to be? Why be able to advertise your pro wrestlers? What a concept. Roman Reigns just picks his eligibility. That's it. All right. The new CEO of WWE, no pun intended to Mercedes Moné over in AEW, but the new CEO in WWE is Roman Reigns. That's it. That's huge. So once he was out, you're like, well, all right, well, what the... I mean, that's a heavy hitter. Where do you go now? I mean, Seth Rollins is, I guess, the next biggest dude in that draft pool, because don't forget, there's 2 different draft pools, because WWE wants to confuse you as much as possible. So they're going to put 30 individuals up for the draft last night. 59 will be available on Monday night, and you'll have to remember who was in whose draft pool. Roman Reigns. That's how we started the show. Paul Heyman tells us Roman Reigns, by the way, last minute will not be a part of the draft because WWE doesn't know what they're doing with Roman going forward. And then we go to Orlando, where Jackie Redmond is live at the Performance Center, and all of the NXT talent is seated watching the draft. And I felt bad for them. They had a bunch of people like in the little, the little Performance Center. I think that's where NXT always performs, and you got like a few hundred people that are probably there every single Tuesday night. It's the same people. And they're all like around them. So all of the talent is seated row by row. And then around them is a bunch of fans. And they got to watch SmackDown together for 2 hours. These wrestlers were probably getting chants and this and that. I got an autograph. So pretty much every now and again, you'd keep going back to Orlando, keep going back to the Performance Center, and you would go to Jackie Redmond. And that's where the big thing they were setting up with was for Kiana James. We'll get to that in a little bit. But they just want you to know that this is a big deal. They went to the war rooms for Raw and SmackDown. Like Bubba Dudley is in like the Raw war room with Devon, I believe. SmackDown won, or maybe that was SmackDown. I think it was Nick Aldis and Bubba. That's what it was. Maybe Devon was in the Raw one. I forget. Either way, you had the two separate war rooms, so they tried to make this like the NFL draft. And then they went to Orlando to make it more special. All of NXT is there, even the ones that cannot get drafted because they're not in the right pool. So, that's how we kick the show off. So they're really pumping up the draft, but it started off with a major dud. Roman can't be drafted at all. Great. Back to the ring, Corey Graves introduces AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes for their Backlash contract signing. Now, this really just started to take shape last week because AJ had to earn this title shot right after Mania. So last week, we finally knew that these two were clashing at Backlash. The problem with that, you only have 1 week to build this now. So last night's segment was huge. I was expecting something big, or something big should have happened with AJ and Cody. Did it? That's another story. This was highly underwhelming. They sat at different tables, said some words, and AJ left. That's exactly what's in my notes, because that's exactly what I put down, because that's exactly what happened. Different tables, said some words, AJ walks off. Couple segments later, they announced that next week, AJ and Cody will go face to face. That's what they're promoting for next week. So they sat them at separate tables so that they could announce that next week they'll be even closer. They'll be face to face. They won't have the tables. Awesome. And then by the end of the night last night, to end the show, AJ was face to face with Cody anyway. So did they forget they promoted that for next week? But that was the contract. Guys, I can't even make it. That was the contract signing. That was it. AJ just walks off. And Cody grabs his title and he's like, yeah. And then Paul Levesque McMahon's music hits and there's Triple H. And he's like, Cody, let's do the first round together, man, of draft picks. So that's what happens, right? I don't even think we went to commercial. We went right into the first round of draft picks. And Cody, I think it was Cody, right? Cody, who knows? The first pick goes to SmackDown, and it is Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair is your first pick. Not even Seth Rollins. And much love to Bianca. You guys know I love Bianca. And damn, when she came out with Jade last night, we're going to get to that. Whoa, that was the heat index. You can't even fathom. We'll get to that in a minute, but Seth Rollins, Roman is cast aside. You would think Rollins would be the first. No, Bianca Belair is who Nick Aldis went with. Great for Bianca, man. Seth's like, what the Bianca is the first pick. I love Bianca. First pick. I don't know about that, man. That's wild, but I'm okay with it because I am so high on Bianca. I want the best for her, so we're obviously going to let that slide. Great for her. Rock it out. It's the second pick that is dumbfounding. Raw has the second pick, and they choose Jey Uso. Jey Uso. Seth Rollins is eligible. Seth Rollins gave you everything. Seth isn't even supposed to be gone as long as CM Punk, by the way. There is no significant injury that we know of. Just some nagging injuries. He just requested a few weeks off. That's all we know so far. Punk is gone for months. We understand that. But Jey Uso over Seth Rollins? After everything he gave Adam Pearce? Jey Uso. That tells you that Raw's top star is Jey Uso. And you guys know it's my favorite tag team, the Usos, Jimmy and Jey Uso. But so that's how much I respect Jey Uso. And it's cool he's getting the singles run and he's got everybody popping off. I love it. But if he's your top face, then Raw has a massive issue. They desperately need somebody like Randy Orton or LA Knight. And that's an issue because that didn't happen last night. Jey Uso goes number 2 in the first pick for Raw. Then we go to the third pick, back over to SmackDown. Carmelo Hayes from NXT. He was already there, though, I believe. I can't say for sure because they just really got called up. Cup of coffee, that was it. He was with WWE for a while. He lost a couple of matches. I don't know if you guys remember. It was many, many months ago. They just wanted to debut him. He lost to like Seth Rollins, I believe. I think it was Rollins. And they just wanted him to lose a couple of times and just show everybody that even though he lost, he's going to be something big one day. And by the end of the night, they just had him doing it again. But we'll get to that. Carmelo Hayes is number 3, but he doesn't, that doesn't do anything because we already looked at Carmelo as called up and on SmackDown. So that didn't do anything. Literally didn't move a needle. And then you went to the fourth pick, back over to Raw. Seth Rollins is finally chosen. He was the last pick of the first round. Bianca, Carmelo, Jey Uso, all called or all picked before Seth Rollins. So basically, round 1 produced zero change in WWE. Other than Melo to SmackDown. But again, he was already looked at as a SmackDown guy. Or at least I did. If he was Raw, you could have fooled me, man. Because I gotta tell you, I'll put a coffee on it. That I always just looked at him as he was going to SmackDown anyway. So, round 1, it's like, dude, you started off so poorly. Roman Reigns already announced that he's not even participating. He just says no. So that tells you right there the draft is a joke from the start of the show. That's the vibe it gives, right? If the dude can just be like, I don't even want to do this, it's like, oh, maybe this isn't as special as it should be. And then Jay just stays where he is. Bianca just stays where she is. Carmelo basically stays where he was going to be. So the only one, oh no, and Rollins stayed too. What am I saying? So everybody just stayed. Everybody just stayed in round 1. Who put that together, bro? Come on, H. You gotta have more coffee, H. Or add another H. Do something, bro. You can't do that for round 1. Come on, bro. You come amplified or you don't come. Come on, man. LWO versus LDF is, no, hold up. First, let me get a swig of coffee because Melo actually came out. Turned his attention over to Cody Rhodes. Let's talk about that. So, right after the first round picks are announced, Melo comes out, challenges Cody Rhodes. Challenges Cody Rhodes to a match. He says he wants to start off the right way to show everybody exactly who he is, what he's made out of, and he doesn't miss, meaning he doesn't lose, but that's the same thing you told Rollins and others, and you did. But okay, it's many months have gone by. He has learned from that, and he's going to beat Cody Rhodes last night from what he's saying, because he doesn't miss. Cool. So that's the main event for later in the night. Cody Rhodes, because he accepts, and Cody versus Melo is set for the end of the night. And this is one of the worst finishes in SmackDown history, and I'm going to tell you exactly why when we get to it. First up, LWO versus LDF. Again, for the 347th time. It wouldn't be Friday Night SmackDown if you don't have an LWO versus LDF match. This one, Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee defeated Garza and Humberto. That's Paul Levesque McMahon, man. He takes out his Post-it note, he's got his pen, and he's just like, let's do LWO and LDF again. Well, we've been doing that for many months, and it's really not going anywhere. Yeah, but, it's all we got. I can't think of anything outside of that. Let's just keep them all together. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Simplistic booking, and we don't gotta give a fuck. Yes, that's Paul Levesque McMahon's mentality. You're gonna see this week after week going forward, too. Because the best part of this was post-match, right? That's when the real good stuff happened. Santos Escobar comes down the ramp with Elektra Lopez, and Santos shows footage of Carlito attacking Lee, Dragon Lee. That was before Mania, and that's what took out Lee and added in Andrade for Ray's team for Mania. So Santos, everybody thought it was Santos. No, just so you know, here's the footage. And they have Carlito attacking Dragon Lee. Carlito knows he's pretty much screwed, so he shoves Lee, I believe, into Rey Mysterio, and he's able to escape, knowing that he was in hot water. So that's, I mean, I like the little plot twist there. They finally, I think we knew it was going to be Carlito. They doing it in the middle of SmackDown, so rushed. When it was over, they went right to like commercial or to something. So they didn't even give it time to really breathe. So it was not executed properly, but it was the only good thing in the whole segment. Can't say the match was any good. Can't say I cared about it because it was such redundancy. So at least when they're showing the footage, I'm like, oh, here we go, man. This is where Carlito was, you know, he was the one that took out Lee. It's something, man. At that point, you're grasping at straws. You're trying to think of something that's positive on this. So I just don't know how much longer they can keep doing LWO LDF. You know what I mean? Even if you throw the little curveball in there right now, Carlito. So that gives it a little bit more of a pulse, right? Carlito sets up Carlito Ray, sets up Carlito Dragon Lee. Are they going to make us care about it going forward? Or was that it? Was that the big payoff? And they don't really have anything after that. You're going to get a bunch of matches now, more matches with them, and that's that. I don't know. Oddly done, but I appreciate the attempt. Braun Breaker defeats Cedric Alexander. That's what I have in my notes. Braun Breaker defeats Cedric Alexander in negative 2.4 seconds. That's what I put down. What the what are we doing? What are we doing? Just put in Dan Dipshit Dugenheimer from the local bingo hall. Give him a few bucks and a cup of 2 coffees. He'll lay down, look up at the lights for Braun Breaker. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, you don't got to do Cedric filthy like that, man. That poor Cedric, after that match, he's going to the back like, damn, if there's another round of releases, budget cuts, I'm pretty much, yeah, I'm in that category. I mean, that was wild, man. I don't know what it really did. Again, you blinked. That thing was, you missed Braun Breaker. Michelle McCool and Tori Wilson are out next for the second round of picks. The first pick of the second round goes to SmackDown, and they choose Randy Orton. Raw could have desperately used him, but LA Knight is still on the books, and LA Knight I thought was the better choice over LA Knight and Randy Orton to go to Raw, because Raw needs one of them, obviously. Cody Rhodes just went over to SmackDown because he's the champ. CM Punk is on the shelf for a while. Rollins is on the shelf for a little bit as well. Your top face is like, what, Jey Uso? So they desperately need either Orton or LA Knight. I thought LA Knight was the better choice. When it was all said and done, Raw got none of them. But we'll get to that in a second. But for this, the first round of the first pick of the second round, Randy Orton stays on SmackDown. No switch, no change, no nothing. Second pick goes over to Raw, and that is Braun Breaker. So there you go. That's supposed to be one of the shocking, switches. But Braun Breaker was barely on SmackDown for a cup of coffee, so nobody really just aligned Braun with SmackDown yet anyway. We haven't seen enough of Braun. When he's out there, it's a negative 2.4 second match. So Braun goes to Raw. That's supposed to be the shocker of the round. Third pick goes to SmackDown, and they choose Nia Jax. Nia Jax, really. She's a second round pick. Nick Aldis is like, that's the game changer, man. Nia Jax. But you know what? At that point, I'm just like, at least somebody switched. At least we're getting something going here, man. And then by the fourth pick, it was right back to just those staying on the same brand they're on. Like Liv Morgan is the 4th pick of the 2nd round. Liv Morgan stays on Raw. So if you take out the Breaker thing, which again, I just look at him as a new call-up, so he's going to land somewhere permanently anyway. I don't look at that as a real shakeup at all. So it's really just Nia Jax in that round really switched a brand. So if you care about that, cool. I can't say many actually thought that was going to be a game-changing, needle-moving moment. Best part of the night thus far comes at the very end of hour 1. Solo and Tonga pull up. Wiseman is awaiting them. They want details on the draft. Wiseman informs them Roman just said no, he doesn't want to participate in the draft. And then Kevin Owens attacks him from behind. We get a pretty cool little parking lot brawl to end hour number 1. And again, at that point, that was the best part of the night, easily. Turn the fucking page! Hour number 2. We're going to kick off with one of the hottest starts to an hour. And I mean that, like, literally. Not just figuratively. Kayla Braxton starts hour 2 interviewing Bianca Belair in the aisleway, too. So a little change of scenery there, right in the aisleway. Between Kayla and Bianca, the heat index was hotter than the sun. And I mean that, man. Not even figuratively. I'm pretty sure that's literally, right? Bianca and Kayla together, the way they were looking last night, as they always do. But that heat index would have been hotter than the sun itself. They were, you say next level, that's beyond. That's a different stratosphere of hot, of beyond sexy, these two ladies. And then the tag title holders Asuka, Kairi, and subsequently Jade Cargill all join Belair in the aisleway. And Cargill, she is like a sculpted masterpiece, I guess is how you would describe Cargill. It's hilarious. Cargill and Belair are just in a competition now of who can get the more solid abs. Literally, if you saw like the start of the show when they were just entering the arena and they have abs that, like, I don't care if you spend 24/7 in the gym. The Rock is like, are you kidding? Rock's taking off the glasses like, are you, what in the world? What's your workout? These chicks they're just trying to outdo one another in their workouts. I just believe that within the next 6 months, if they're going to stay a tag team, and they're going for tag titles, I believe next Saturday night, if they're going to keep them as in a tag team, I think they're just going to turn into like ultra beasts. It's going to be wild, man. They're just going to get bigger and bigger because they're just going to try to outdo one another. Anyway, cool thing here, though, is while they're all arguing, right? So you have Asuka, Kairi, Bianca, and Jade. They're all arguing right there in the aisleway. And all of a sudden, Owens and Tonga come barreling through the curtain, continuing their parking lot brawl. They barrel out of the curtain, and then they battle into the ring. There is where Solo helps out Tonga, and then subsequently Randy Orton evens the odds and helps out Kevin Owens, and the heels retreat. Kevin Owens gives a big hug to Randy and then tries to get back at the Bloodline, or whoever's left, the new Bloodline, Solo and Tonga. So, very well done with that segment. You know, it just felt like something different. You got this one feud igniting, and then all of a sudden the feud we just saw before commercial, the parking lot bro, they're barreling out of the curtain. So you have two separate feuds at once. Thought that was one of the brighter spots of the entire night. Dudley Boys are out next for the 3rd round of draft picks. Here we go, man. At this point, you're just thinking, are we going to get a round of draft picks where it's exciting, it's fun, it's like really newsworthy? It feels like this is a special event. Would round 3 deliver that for us? Well, we're going to find out because the Dudley Boys are announcing these picks. Pick number 1 goes to SmackDown in round 3, and this is where it fell apart and it could not be rectified. LA Knight, yeah. In this case, LA Knight, no. SmackDown chooses LA Knight. Don't blame him, but So just like Randy Orton, LA Knight just stays exactly where he is. Just like Seth Rollins, he stays exactly where he is. Just like Bianca Belair, she stays exactly where she is. You guys see a theme? All these big stars, they ain't going anywhere. All of the top names are staying. Jey Uso even. If you want to look at him as a true top guy, he's even staying. Nobody moved anywhere. Roman didn't even go. Roman just said, I'm just going to be Roman and show up whenever I show up. So at this point, deep into the second hour, you finally realize we've been had. This is nothing. This was a ploy to try to pop a rating. Okay, I get it. You got to do that as a company. But you were hoping like there was going to be some just big moments that we could be talking about. Like it was going to feel special. We'd be talking about so many epic things that happened. And LA Knight just stays on SmackDown. Raw desperately needed that dude. BC, he's going to go for Logan Paul's title. He doesn't need to go for Logan Paul's. He needs to be on Monday Night Raw and help that brand. He doesn't even need a title. Just book LA Knight to be a certified badass. That's what he is, or should be booked that way. I don't need to see LA Knight with a championship right now. I need to see LA Knight in badass feuds and storylines. Kicking ass, being that dude down the line. If it's called for, yeah, win championships. But if you're keeping him on SmackDown just so we can take on Logan Paul in the future, no thanks. And Paul, by the way, is going to be on Monday Night Raw Monday. So that was the first pick in round 3. LA Knight stays on SmackDown. That's befuddling to me. They kept Randy Orton and LA Knight, and Raw just keeps Seth Rollins, who's on the shelf for a little bit. Raw gets the next pick, the second pick in the third round. Raw goes Ricochet. Ricochet. That's what we're doing. We're deep into the second hour. This is how everyone's spending their Friday night. And Ricochet is picked. Second round, or second pick in the third round. Ricochet stays exactly where he is, no movement. SmackDown then gets the third pick of round 3. The entire bloodline is chosen. The entire Paul Heyman even. Paul Heyman, why not, right? Paul Heyman, the Tama Tonga, Solo Sikoa. The entire group is just chosen. Didn't see that in the rules, but okay. Didn't see the rule where it said entire factions go together. Okay. But you see, sometimes they do the entire tag team. All right, I didn't know that was entire. I mean, Alpha Academy's all going in as one. Bloodline's all going in as one. If the NWO was in existence today, when they reached like 40 participants in the NWO, all 40 of them would have been drafted, according to WWE. The entire bloodline is drafted to SmackDown. Yes, think about that. They didn't move anywhere. So not only are they all going together, they're not going anywhere. They just got their names called. They're staying right on SmackDown. So far you have LA Knight staying exactly where he is, Ricochet staying where he is, entire bloodline staying where they are, and then finally Raw gets the fourth pick of the third round, and they announce Sheamus. So Sheamus is the big switch in round 3. Sheamus is going to Raw. Okay. The dude just got back. So you're just throwing him over. It's not like he established himself back on SmackDown and then this is like a big deal. Sheamus is the big shocker of round 3. Thankfully, because we all needed our spirits lifted up at that point, thankfully it was Tiffy time. Great backstage segment. A few segments earlier backstage, Tiffany Stratton was told by Nick Aldis that she was going to have a match with Naomi coming up, which is what we're going to talk about. And the winner of that will take on Bayley for the championship at Backlash in France. So Tiffany goes, I just had a Tiffy, what'd she say? A Tiffany epiphany, right? A Tiffy epiphany? Tiffany, or did she say though? Oh, either way, I just had a Tiffany epiphany and I just popped at that. I was like, oh, come on, this girl is too great. The thing she says is so batshit ludicrous, and it's just epic. I just had a Tiffy epiphany, and I'm like, oh my God, come on. That is so stupid. It's so awesome. And anyway, it's Tiffy time. Tiffany Stratton versus Naomi. I had to mention that. That honestly popped BC. Bayley is on commentary for this matchup, Stratton versus Naomi. Again, winner takes on Bayley for the title. Backlash France next Saturday. BC is thinking at this point, this is nice. This will get us to the triple threat that we all can expect, right? It's going to be Bayley, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi. No harm, no foul. Tiffany should get drafted to Raw anyway because Tiffany should not be winning this match, but she needs to be in this match. She needs to be in that high-profile match. All these crowds, especially outside the U.S., they love Tiffany Stratton. No harm, no foul here. Tiffany loses this match, but sometimes there's victory and defeat. This is one of those situations. After this, she gets drafted right over, or Monday, she gets drafted to Raw. May 6th, the rosters get locked, so Tiffany can have this match still, and then get switched over to Raw. I love it. So I'm thinking at this point, this is a good way to set this triple threat up, right? They're going to do some type of schmaz at the finish. But leave it to WWE to complicate everything. They send Nia Jax out there to interfere. The match is thrown out. So they did do the schmaz. There isn't just one winner, so you can still set up the triple threat. But then they leave the door open for a fatal four somehow at Nia. It's almost like they just wanted to poke a little bit to see if they could get everybody riled up. Like, they're going to think Nia's in this match. And it worked, because we thought Nia was going to be in this match. Thankfully, afterwards, Aldis announced that it was going to be a triple threat match at Backlash for the title. Tiffany, Naomi, Bayley. But there's still a SmackDown left. They can say that she planted the seeds this week, Nia, and then next week, the stakes get even higher. She plants even more seeds, and Aldis is like, you know what? This is now a fatal four. They could throw Nia Jax into this match. I mean, she just got drafted to SmackDown, right? So I'm not holding out that this is going to remain a triple threat. There's no reason for Nia to be in this. She wasn't involved in any of this. This has been going on over a month between these three ladies. Keep it with them. You want to do something with Nia? Do it after Backlash. But we do have that triple threat as of now announced for Backlash. Then it is time for the fourth and final round of the draft for night one. JBL and holla, 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 playa. Teddy Long! They are introducing or announcing the fourth and final round of draft picks. Teddy Long out there to make an impromptu tag match. If anybody remembers old school Teddy Long, man. That always popped us. So for the fourth round, SmackDown goes first. They choose AJ Styles. Yes, I know what you're thinking. You are correct. No movement. Top star staying exactly where he is. That's the theme of the night. AJ Styles stays on SmackDown. Raw then picks. Raw chooses all of Alpha Academy. The entire group. Cool. No movement, by the way. That not even a whole group is being drafted somewhere else. No, the whole group is just staying where they are. And they think that's like fun television. That's entertaining. Guys, no joke. You can watch the segment, listen for yourself at that point, unless they edited it out. At that point, the crowd, that was pretty silent throughout the night, by the way. I heard CM Punk actually made an appearance either before or after. I'm hoping he got a much better pop because that crowd was, and I don't blame them, by the way, the crowd was just not having it last night. They just were not, and I don't know if they were not being entertained or just not having a lot of fun, or they were just confused by the show, or just there wasn't enough fun to be had. These names and these announcements were not doing anything for them like most of us where we were viewing. So at this point when Alpha Academy got announced, guys, you heard audible boos. Like they finally came to life, but not for the right reasons. They were booing at that point. They're like, what are we doing, man? Yeah, AJ Styles didn't go anywhere. AJ Styles is just staying on SmackDown like everybody else is staying where they are. And then you're just announcing a whole group is staying where they are. Raw then goes for the third pick of the final round, round 4, and they choose Kiana James. Crowd is, literally, it's in my notes. I put crowd was done. Crowd, you say silent, right? We always use the joke, you could hear crickets. That's how silent it was. I'm telling you right now, you could hear a pin drop. That's how silent that crowd was when Kiana James's name was announced. Now, I'm not doubting that she's decent to even a good wrestler. I've seen her perform decent and even good at times. I get it. Nothing special for BC. Nobody that I really got captivated by or that I would say I'm a fan or a big supporter of. Hopefully that changes. But there's many females before that for BC. So Kiana James is just a name that it just feels like they just chucked baloney at the wall, landed on Kiana, and they're like, why not? But good for her. I just don't know. I mean, just like the live crowd, I know many of us were like, yeah, Kiana on Raw. Do you know how many talents on Raw can't get the time of day, especially for the females? I mean, they still have to fix the roster they have now. Kiana's now coming on board to do what? And then, and I don't even know, is Roxy on the separate pool? I know champions are locked and she's got the NXT title, but Roxy was supposed to be being called up. So is Roxy, I mean, no matter how if you knew this ahead of time, I mean, you're going to call up Kiana before Roxy. That just seems so odd to me. But again, Roxy having a championship probably altered plans. I don't know. Shawn Michaels congratulates Kiana, by the way. Nice congratulations by Shawn Michaels. No. You know what? The Kiana pick, by the way, I don't know if I said that. It was the 4th pick of the final round. The 3rd pick, guys, SmackDown chose Andrade. That's what it was. So the first pick in the final round was SmackDown. They chose Styles. Second was Raw's pick. They chose all of Alpha Academy. The 3rd pick was Andrade, and he's going SmackDown. So there's a switch. So just like Sheamus, I don't know how much that really moves a needle. Andrade is going to SmackDown. Great. He can be a part of the LWO and LDF because that's what Paul Levesque McMahon will do with him. So that's just going to be, especially with the Carlito twist, that's going to be going through all of 2024, those two groups. And that pretty much tells you that Charlotte Flair is staying on SmackDown. They're going to keep her, just like Roman, I expect. They're going to keep her on USA. Again, there's more chances for newer eyeballs to get to you there than Netflix, and they want to keep her kind of there with those commercials, with that accessibility on cable. So Charlotte Flair is most likely going to go SmackDown, especially with Andrade now blue brand. And then Kiana was the final pick of... So, I mean, that was your grand finale. The final pick of the night, Kiana James. And the crowd goes mild. And then we go to the main event, one of the worst finishes in SmackDown history, and that's not even Cody or Melo's doing, by the way. Cody versus Melo. It was a sloppy match, a lot of this. Melo, I don't know if he was too timid, he didn't want to ruffle the feathers of Cody, or he was trying to, maybe too hard, too much, trying to do too much, because he knew this was like his calling card to a lot of people. But like right from the jump, when Cody does, I call the old Dustin, right? Dusty would do this too, but Dustin flat on his back, and he does that uppercut punch while on his back, right? And he did that. And man, Melo was so far off. I mean, he wasn't even close enough. So Cody just swung at air. And then there was like a super kick or something subsequently, and Melo again was like a foot off. It was kind of weird. And then from there, it was just kind of off. They had some good moments, some good spots, no question. They synced up their timing issues pretty well on the big maneuvers. But other than that, I mean, beyond forgettable for sure. Match-wise, Cody wins, obviously. This was via Crossroads. They did have Melo kick out of the Cody Cutter, I believe it was. So Cody delivered a Cody Cutter. I thought that was it. Melo kicks out. And then the Crossroads moments later, and this dude was looking up at the lights. So, post-match. And by the way, commentary, right when Melo lost, they went into damage control. Commentary is being told by Paul Levesque McMahon, sell Melo, sell the shit out of him. Right, tapping to old school Vince McMahon, sell Melo. Because commentary went into overdrive, trying to tell you why Carmelo is the greatest thing since sliced bread or coffee. I mean, Melo showed you tonight that he is the next biggest thing. Melo showed you he could be a champion and hold the title forever. Melo showed you he's the greatest wrestler in the world. Slight exaggerations, but you get the point. For the next 3 minutes, yada, Melo this, Melo that, and all we've seen so far is Melo losing, right? He says he doesn't miss. All he's done on the main roster is miss, and miss some more. How many times can you keep saying you don't miss? The dude keeps missing, right? That's Melo. So Cody Rhodes afterwards goes to pick him up, and I'm like, no, he's a heel. Don't shake his hand. I'm thinking of Melo, like attack Cody when he turns around or something, but you have to preserve that, right? Melo spent a while going into that trick feud in NXT before he got called up permanently. He spent a while and a lot of time, energy, and resources into that heel Melo. And then after this match, he loses, and then Cody Rhodes is giving him a hoorah pump-up speech. And he's like in tears. He's on his ass, and Melo's almost in tears, and he's like pissed off, but he's listening to Cody. And then he goes to the apron. Cody turns his back, lifts up his championship. Melo looks at him and sits on the apron, doesn't do anything. I'm like, what was that? You just made what should be a top heel in the company going forward. You just had him not just lose, but totally just get a pep talk by the top face that just beat him. And then AJ Styles comes down. You promoted them face-to-face next week. Why are they going face-to-face now when that's your big promotion for next week? And you know what AJ Styles and Cody did? AJ extends his hand. Cody shakes it. Mutual respect, and we go off the air. That's how SmackDown ended. Because Paul Levesque McMahon, Triple H, loves mutual respect. He loves when they shake hands. Because they're in an athletic contest. This isn't college wrestling, man. This isn't a game of fucking badminton or pickleball. Everyone doesn't have to shake hands after a match or before a match. AJ Styles, like Melo, is a heel. A big heel. Should be a top heel. Why is AJ Styles this top heel? Extending his hand, shaking Cody's hand, and not doing anything after. You're expecting like a punch after or something. Nope. Cody's like, okay, and they shake hands, and there's mutual respect between AJ and Cody. But AJ is a heel. You saw the dastardly attacks on LA Knight and all that. Now all of a sudden, him and Cody are like just going to have an athletic bout together. That's the storyline? AJ and Cody are just going to be two great wrestlers having a great wrestling match. Oh, that's great for the niche audience that just wants to witness a banger and rate it 7 stars afterwards. This could have been a really good storyline with AJ and Cody. And they shake hands, and AJ's supposed to be a heel. You have Melo still on his ass on the apron, almost in tears, as a top heel. After his pep talk from Cody. That's one of the worst finishes in SmackDown history because none of it made sense. You just took 2 heels and you made them bona fide idiots. Sorry, not sorry for the amplified truth that has been dropped in this SmackDown review. We don't BS. It ain't gonna happen. And that was a failed Night 1 draft by World Wrestling Entertainment. And BC is gonna tell you about it like he just done did, and he'll do it again come Monday night on that review. Because that better be a whole lot better than what we just saw last night. Top guys, we are out. BC. Until next time. And there will be that next time. BC saying check you. Peace.